All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're going on a grocery store adventure. You guys sent over a ton of stuff about healthy eating, and this deep dive is all about finding those hidden gems.
Ooh,
The surprising tips and tricks that will actually make a difference in your daily life.
right.
We're talking ditching the diet dogma and finding a sustainable way to eat that makes you feel good.
I love that approach.
Yeah.
And speaking of gems, the video you shared, Bobby Parrish's 9 healthy foods you must eat in 2025, is packed with them. He's all about nutrient density, getting the most bang for your buck, and making informed choices, not just following the latest fads.
Exactly. It's like having a personal grocery store guru in your pocket.
hmm
And let me tell you, some of his recommendations totally threw me for a loop. Who knew butter could be back on the menu?
Right. It's a perfect example of how nutrition advice can change. As we learn more, for years we were told to avoid saturated fat at all costs, but now we're realizing that those processed oils we swapped in, like soybean and palm oil, are actually worse for us in the long run.
So butter isn't the villain we thought it was?
Not necessarily, especially when you choose high-quality butter.
Okay.
Think grass-fed European-style butter.
Right.
It's got a higher fat content, which means it's creamier and softer. No more tearing your toast with rock-hard butter.
Right.
And that higher fat content also means it's more nutrient-dense.
Okay, so we're talking butter. That's actually good for you. I'm sold. But with so many brands out there, how do we know which ones are the real deal?
Well, Bobby recommends a few. Kerrygold Aldi's Irish butter, Kirkland's New Zealand butter from Costco and Vital Farms, all great options to keep an eye out for.
Awesome. So we're starting our day with a pat of delicious, high-quality butter. What's next on Bobby's breakfast hit list?
He sticks with the theme of choosing wisely with his next pick, eggs, but not all eggs are created equal.
Well, I'm ready for this one. I learned so much from this part of the video. It's all about how the chickens are raised, right? Like, it's if they're living the good life, their eggs are going to be better for us.
Exactly. Bobby's a huge advocate for pasture-raised eggs, where the hens can roam freely outdoors, eating bugs, worms, and grass, their natural diet, and you can actually see the difference. Pasture-raised eggs have those vibrant orange yolks that scream nutrient-dense.
It's like a built-in quality check, but are these fancy eggs going to break the bank?
Not at all.
Hmm.
Bobby does a price comparison in the video, and they're surprisingly affordable, especially when you consider all of the extra nutrients you're getting, like omega-3s, vitamin E, and beta-carotene.
So we're getting more nutritional bang for our buck. I'm liking this already, but what about those labels like cage-free and free-range? I always thought those meant the chickens were living the good life.
Those labels can be tricky.
Yeah.
Cage-free just means they're not in individual cages, but they could still be crammed into a barn.
Yeah.
And free-range technically requires some outdoor access, but it might just be a tiny little door they never even use. Pasture-raised is the real gold standard here.
Okay, got it. Pasture-raised is the key word. We're ditching the imposters, so we've got our butter and our eggs. Now let's move on to lunch. What does Bobby recommend for a midday meal that's both healthy and satisfying?
Well, he's all about convenience and affordability, and of course, packing in the protein. And one of his top picks might surprise you: canned fish.
Wait, really? I always thought of canned fish as well. Kind of boring. What makes it so special?
It's a total nutritional powerhouse that's often overlooked. Both canned tuna and salmon are bursting with protein, those healthy omega-3 fatty acids, and a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals. And the best part, it's incredibly cheap, especially compared to fresh fish.
So we're saving money, A&D, boosting our nutrition. I'm on board, but how do you make canned fish well more exciting? I'm picturing sad tuna sandwiches here.
Bobby's got you covered. He suggests mixing it with mayo for a classic salad, or even getting creative and making patties. Think of it as a healthy and budget-friendly take on fish cakes.
Oh, I like where this is going. And he talks a lot about protein helping you feel full and satisfied. Is there a reason for that?
Absolutely. Protein actually triggers the release of a hormone in our gut called GLP-1, which helps regulate our appetite. It's like a natural appetite suppressant, fun fact. Some weight loss medications actually target this same hormone.
Wow, that's fascinating science to the rescue. But there's one thing I'm curious about. He mentions choosing smaller fish, like chunk-light tuna or skipjack. Why is that?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It all comes down to mercury levels. Larger fish, like albacore tuna, tend to accumulate more mercury, which we want to avoid. Opting for those smaller fish helps minimize your exposure.
Okay, so we're going for the smaller fish smart choice. So we've got our delicious and affordable canned fish lunch sorted. What other protein-packed gems does Bobby have up his sleeve for lunch?
He actually suggests upgrading another lunchtime classic, deli turkey.
Right.
But like everything else, not all deli turkey is created
Oh,
equal.
I know this feeling. I stand in the deli aisle and I just stare at the wall of turkey, totally overwhelmed. How do you even begin to choose?
It's a jungle out there. The problem is a lot of those conventional deli meats are packed with sneaky added ingredients. Talking GMO, cornstarch, added sugar, sodium phosphates, and even carrageenan, which can cause inflammation in the body. And don't even get me started on those mysterious natural flavorings.
So it's like they're taking perfectly good turkey and turning it into a science experiment.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But Bobby shows us exactly what to look for. He compares ingredient lists and highlights brands that use just a few simple things.
Yeah.
Turkey seasonings, maybe a little salt and pepper. That's it.
Simple is better. Who knew? But what if I can't find organic turkey? Is it still worth it to choose a non-organic option that doesn't have all those extra additives?
Absolutely. Every little step counts. It's all about progress, not perfection.
I love that it takes the pressure off. Speaking of taking the pressure off our wallets, does he have any budget-friendly tips for those of us who are deli meat obsessed?
He does. Apparently, Costco has a 3-pack of clean turkey. That's a fantastic deal.
Score. Okay, so we've got our buttered toast, our pasture-raised eggs, our canned fish salad, and our clean turkey sandwich. I'm feeling pretty good about my choices so far, but what about when those afternoon cravings hit? Surely we can't snack on canned fish all day, right?
Of course not. But even when we're indulging, Bobby shows us that there are ways to make smarter choices. And get this, his snack recommendation involves chips.
Hold on, chips isn't potato chips. I thought those were off limits in the healthy eating world.
Well, he's not saying to go crazy on chips, but he highlights one super simple swap that can make a big difference. The type of oil.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm sensing a theme here. Are we talking about those sneaky seed oils again?
You got it. Most chips are fried in inflammatory seed oils like sunflower, safflower, canola oil. But choosing chips cooked in avocado oil is a much healthier option.
So avocado oil to the rescue again. I had no idea the type of oil can make such a big difference.
It totally does, and Bobby is really passionate about this. He considers seed oils and added sugar to be the 2 biggest culprits behind inflammation in our bodies.
Inflammation is the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
It's linked to all sorts of health problems.
Exactly. And he's not saying we have to live a life of deprivation. He says, I will never preach to you a diet. Mine is more about a lifestyle. It's about finding healthier alternatives to the foods you enjoy, not cutting them out completely.
That's such a refreshing perspective.
Yeah.
So when it comes to chips, avocado oil is our friend. But hold on, he says avocado oil is not a seed oil. I'm confused.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but avocados are actually fruits, not seeds. So the oil has a different fatty acid profile and is much less likely to cause inflammation.
Okay, the science is blowing my mind today. So we've got our avocado oil chips for a guilt-free snack. What about dinner? What does Bobby recommend to fuel our bodies after a long day?
Well, he really emphasizes choosing high-quality, nutrient-dense meats. And when it comes to beef, he's a big advocate for grass-fed.
Okay, I've heard a lot about grass-fed beef, but honestly, I'm not sure what the big deal is. Can you break it down for me?
Of course, it all comes down to, you guessed it, the cow's diet. What they eat directly affects the nutritional content of the meat. Grass-fed beef has way more CLA, which is a healthy fat, more omega-3s, more vitamin A, and just an overall richer nutrient profile.
So it's like choosing the superfood version of beef.
Exactly. And it's not just good for us, it's good for the planet too. Pasture-raised cattle farming is more sustainable and can even be carbon neutral.
Okay, so we're talking a win-win for our health and the environment. I'm sold on grass-fed beef, but where can you even find it, and is it super expensive?
Bobby actually gives a few shout-outs to places where you can find affordable grass-fed beef like Aldi and Sam's Club. He also shares a pro tip. When you're buying 100% grass-fed beef, you don't need to worry about the organic label because the cows are only eating grass, which won't be sprayed with pesticides.
That's a great tip. Less label confusion is always a good thing. So we've got our delicious and nutritious grass-fed beef for dinner. What else is on the menu?
Well, what's a healthy dinner without a side of salmon? But as you might have guessed, not all salmon is created equal. Bobby highlights the difference between wild-caught and farmed salmon.
Oh, I'm sure I know where this is going. Wild caught is the way to go, right? But why is it just a taste thing?
It's way more than that. Wild salmon live their best lives swimming freely in the ocean, eating a natural diet of smaller fish and crustaceans. This gives them a much richer nutrient profile, especially when it comes to those all-important omega-3 fatty acids.
So wild salmon are like the Olympians of the fish world. All that swimming and training makes them super strong and healthy.
That's a great analogy, and just like with pasture-raised eggs, you can actually see the difference. Wild-caught salmon has a beautiful deep pink color, while farmed salmon is often artificially colored with beta-carotene to try to mimic that rich hue.
So if the salmon looks a bit pale, it's probably farmed and not as nutrient dense. It's like nature's built-in warning system.
Exactly, and those nutritional differences are significant. Wild-caught salmon has 3 times the amount of omega-3s, 3 times the amount of iron, and 4 times the amount of calcium compared to farm salmon.
Wow, those are some serious stats. All right, so wild-caught salmon is definitely going on the grocery list. But I have to admit, even after all this great advice, I still get a little intimidated by the grocery store. It's so overwhelming sometimes.
I hear you. It can be a sensory overload, but Bobby actually takes us on a virtual tour of the grocery store in his video, guiding us through each aisle and pointing out those hidden gems.
Oh, I love that it's like having a personal shopper who's also a nutrition expert.
Exactly. So let's continue our journey. Shall we next stop the bread aisle?
Oh, the bread aisle.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a labyrinth of choices, and I'm always second-guessing myself. Help me, Bobby. You're my only hope.
He's got us covered. Bobby breaks down the bread aisle beautifully, and once you know the rules, it's actually pretty easy to navigate.
Okay, I'm ready to learn the secrets of the bread aisle. What's the first thing we should look for?
First and foremost, avoid anything that says enriched flour.
He makes a big deal about that, doesn't he? I always thought enriched flour was a good thing.
It sounds healthy, right? But it's actually a bit of a trick. Enriched flour is basically white flour that's been stripped of its nutrients during processing and then fortified with synthetic vitamins and minerals to try to make it seem healthier.
So it's like they're taking out the good stuff and then adding back in artificial versions. That doesn't seem right.
Exactly. It's a classic example of how processed food can be misleading.
So enriched flour is out. What else should we be watching out for?
He also says to be wary of bread with a ton of added sugar. He uses a specific example in the video, honey whey. Bread. It sounds healthy, but then you look at the label and it has 2 grams of added sugar per slice.
Ugh. I hate when they sneak sugar into things like that. It all adds up so quickly.
Right. And he also cautions against breads that contain soybean oil and a long list of preservatives. Those are all signs of an ultra-processed food that's been stripped of its natural nutrients and fiber.
And fiber is our friend. It keeps us feeling full and satisfied. So if enriched flour is a no-go and we're watching out for added sugar, soybean oil, and preservatives, what should we be looking for in a healthy bread?
He recommends choosing breads made with whole grains, nuts, and seeds, and ideally no added sugar, or if there is added sugar, it should be in a natural form like fruit juice, honey, or molasses.
Okay, so whole grains, nuts, seeds, minimal sugar, and plenty of fiber, got it. But with so many options, are there any specific brands he recommends?
He mentions that he recently revealed his top picks in a separate video, but he does give a shout out to Aldi's sprouted bread as a good option.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out next time I'm at Aldi. Okay, so we've conquered the bread aisle. What's next on our grocery store adventure?
Hold on to your hats because Bobby's next stop is the cereal aisle, and he doesn't hold back.
I'm a little scared, but also excited. I love how he calls cereal really expensive junk food. It's so true.
Right, he says he couldn't find a single Bobby-approved cereal in the entire aisle. Even the ones that look healthy are often loaded with sugar and artificial ingredients.
He uses Special K fruit and yogurt as an example, right?
Yeah.
It sounds so healthy, but then you look at the label and it has 12 grams of added sugar per serving.
Exactly. That's 3 teaspoons of sugar just from your cereal. And all those synthetic vitamins and minerals they add back in don't make up for the lack of real nutrition.
Okay, so cereal is out, but what if you're a creature of habit and you just can't imagine giving up your morning bowl of cereal? What's the healthier alternative?
He recommends going back to basics. Good old-fashioned oats, preferably organic.
Oats, that seems so simple, but I guess sometimes simple is best. Are oats really that much healthier than cereal?
They're a total nutritional powerhouse. They're packed with fiber, iron, zinc, and thiamine. Plus, they're way more affordable than those processed cereals. He does another one of his price comparisons, and it's clear that oats are the winner when it comes to both nutrition and value.
And oats aren't just for oatmeal.
Right? Exactly. You can make overnight oats, add them to smoothies, bake with them. The possibilities are endless.
Okay, I'm officially adding oats to my shopping list. So we've covered breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, and we've even tackled the treacherous bread and cereal aisles. Where to next?
Bobby then takes us to the coffee and tea aisle. It's a good reminder that even our beverage choices can impact our health.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge coffee and tea drinker, so I'm
Awesome.
all ears. Does he have any surprising recommendations in this department?
He does, and he starts with a strong message about coffee. No K-cups or pods.
Whoa, really? But K-cups are so convenient. What's wrong with them?
He's concerned about the potential for toxins and metals from the aluminum and plastic to leach into our coffee, and he even mentions that the inventor of K-cups regrets creating them because they've become such a ubiquitous source of waste.
Wow, I had no idea. That's a real wake-up call.
Right? Sometimes convenience comes at a cost, so if we're ditching the K-cups, what's the best way to enjoy our coffee?
Okay, Bobby, I'm ready to switch up my coffee routine. What's the alternative?
He recommends sticking with ground or whole bean coffee and brewing it at home the old-fashioned way. And if you really love the convenience of your single-serve coffee maker, he suggests getting a reusable stainless steel K-cup and filling it with your favorite coffee grounds.
Okay, so it's about finding that balance between convenience and, I guess, purity, making sure we're not sacrificing our health for a quick cup of coffee.
Yeah.
What about flavored coffees? Those are always tempting.
Yeah, those can be tricky. He points out that a lot of those artificial flavors are actually derived from petroleum, which is not exactly what I want in my morning cup.
Petroleum coffee, no thank you. I think I'll stick to the natural stuff. And what about creamers? Does he have any recommendations for those of us who like a little something extra in our coffee?
He's a fan of keeping it simple: milk, heavy cream half and half, or your favorite almond milk. Basically anything that's actually, real food, not a science experiment.
So we're ditching those conventional creamers with the mile-long ingredient lists. It's amazing how many hidden nasties are lurking in those seemingly innocent coffee creamers.
All right, you think you're just adding a splash of flavor, but you're actually getting a dose of corn syrup solids, hydrogenated soybean oil, and who knows what else.
Okay, so we've got our coffee routine sorted. What about tea? I'm a huge tea drinker, and I'm always looking for ways to make my tea ritual even healthier. Does Bobby have any tips for us tea lovers?
He does. He actually starts his day with a cup of jasmine green tea, but he has some strong opinions about how we should be brewing it. Are you ready for this? No tea bags.
Wait, what? No tea bags? But that's how I've always made tea. What's wrong with tea bags?
Well, most tea bags are made from bleached chlorinated paper, plastic, or rayon, and when you steep them in hot water, there's a chance that those materials could leach into your tea.
Ew, that's not something I want to be drinking. So what's the alternative?
He recommends opting for loose leaf tea.
Loose leaf tea. That sounds fancy. Does it require special equipment?
Not necessarily. He uses a simple stainless steel diffuser in his cup of tea and steeps it for about 4 minutes.
Okay, so it's actually pretty simple. I'm definitely going to try that. So we've covered our coffee and tea rituals. Where does Bobby take us next on our grocery store tour?
He takes us back to the canned food aisle, but this time it's not for fish.
Ooh, I'm intrigued what other healthy surprises are hiding in the canned food aisle.
He highlights canned beans as an incredibly affordable and nutritious option.
Canned beans. I have to admit, I haven't given them much thought lately.
I know they're often overlooked, but they're truly a nutritional powerhouse. They're packed with protein, fiber, iron, and other essential nutrients, and they're so versatile you can add them to salads, soups, stews, or even make bean dips and spreads.
He mentions that they're a great source of resistant starch, too. What's that?
Resistant starch is a type of fiber that our bodies can't digest, which means it acts as a prebiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in our gut.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm always looking for ways to support my gut health, so canned beans are a win-win. They're good for our gut indeed. They're packed with nutrients.
Exactly. Plus, they're so affordable and convenient. Definitely a pantry staple.
Okay, so canned beans are officially on my shopping list. What other hidden gems does Bobby uncover in the canned food aisle?
Next up, he takes us to the canned tomato section, and he's not talking about your average diced tomatoes. He recommends choosing fire-roasted diced tomatoes.
Fire roasted. That sounds delicious. What difference does that make?
It adds a delicious smoky flavor to the tomatoes, and it actually boosts their nutritional value.
Really? How so?
The fire roasting process actually increases the lycopene content of the tomatoes. Lycopene is a powerful antioxidant that's been linked to all sorts of health benefits, like reducing the risk of certain cancers and heart disease.
Wow, so fire-roasted diced tomatoes are a flavor upgrade and a nutritional win-win, I'm sold.
Right, it's a simple swap that makes a big difference.
Okay, so we've raided the canned fish section stocked up on beans and grabbed some fire-roasted tomatoes. Where does Bobby take us for our final stop on this grocery store adventure?
He ends our tour in the frozen food aisle, but he's not talking about frozen pizzas or ice cream. He highlights frozen berries as an incredibly convenient and nutritious option.
Frozen berries. That's a great idea. I often forget about the frozen food aisle when I'm thinking about healthy choices.
Right, but frozen berries are a fantastic option. They're picked at peak ripeness and then flash frozen, which actually preserves their nutrients.
And they're so much more affordable than fresh berries, especially out of season.
Exactly. Plus, they're incredibly versatile. You can add them to smoothies, yogurt, oatmeal, or even bake with them.
Okay, I'm officially convinced frozen berries are going on my shopping list. So we've covered a lot of ground today, from breakfast to dinner, snacks, beverages, and even a full-blown grocery store tour as we wrap up this deep dive into Bobby's healthy eating advice. What are some of the key takeaways you want our listener to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that healthy eating doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It's about making informed choices, focusing on whole, unprocessed foods, and being mindful of the ingredients in the foods you buy.
I love how Bobby breaks down those choices and makes it so much easier to navigate the grocery store. It's like he's giving us a roadmap to a healthier lifestyle.
He really does a fantastic job of empowering people to make healthier choices. And he does it all with a sense of humor and a down-to-earth approach that makes it feel achievable for everyone.
It's not about being perfect, it's about making progress.
Exactly. Every small step counts.
So as our listener heads to the grocery store this week, armed with all this amazing advice, what's one question you want them to ask themselves?
I would encourage them to ask themselves, what's one swap I can make today that will nourish my body and support my health? It could be as simple as choosing pasture-raised eggs instead of conventional eggs, opting for avocado oil chips instead of those fried in seed oils, or swapping out a sugary cereal for a bowl of hearty oatmeal.
Those are all fantastic examples. It's amazing how those small changes can really add up over time. Remember, every choice we make is an opportunity to prioritize our health and well-being.
Absolutely. And as Bobby reminds us, it's not about deprivation. It's about finding joy in the process.
So go forth and make those healthy swaps. And be sure to check out the show notes for links to all the resources we've discussed today, including Bobby's free app to help you navigate the grocery store with confidence.
Happy shopping and happy eating.